One frustration that I've had is that a lot of people in the research community see publication as the final step. And I think that leaves a lot of good research not having the impact that it could have. The real people you want to impact are either health services, because they can deliver the research based on your recommendations, and the actual people, because those are the people who will be benefiting from whatever research you've put out.
I'd like to welcome back Prosedu, Sam, and Stephen to talk about the ways that we can improve dissemination and the impact that would have on improving representation of Black participants in clinical research. Let me go first to Sam. You have obviously a long history in research. What do you think could be have the biggest impact in terms of dissemination and increasing representation?
So we have talked a little bit about improving representation already. So I think the next big thing is dissemination. And I think once you have done your homework well by recruiting from the population that you want to have represented and getting them involved in the design and the co-production, when you have now got the results, it's a lot easier to disseminate it. And I always say the best places to let the findings reach the population is not in the publications or not even the clinical area, because by the time they get to the clinical area, a lot of these populations are very unwell. They do not proactively seek help to prevent illness. They turn to the doctors when they are unwell. So at that stage, it's probably too late to disseminate. Where to reach them is where you can actually find them. Black people like praying. I I always get them in the churches and the mosques. You'll find them there, and work with the faith leaders. They will disseminate these findings very easily for you. Places like barber shops, hairdresser salons, that is where you need to translate the evidence into very lay language for them to be able to, oh, have you heard about this new research finding that is saying that people from our population are more likely to get this condition? So next time you go to your doctors, ask for this. So I think those are the very subtle, innovative ways of disseminating these findings very easily to the population. It's no point. It's no point going to public places, Diabetes UK conference. You will not have a lot of them there. They will not be there. And if you give the information to the GPs or the frontline clinicians to deliver, by the time this population get there, it's too late. They're probably too ill.
Absolutely, I agree with you about going where people are. I know women spend an awful lot of time in the salon, so if there's going to be a captive audience there, absolutely. I can't speak for the men, but you mentioned the barbershop. There might be other areas. Brilliant point. I'll come to you, Stephen, shortly, but I had another question because for me, you said there's the where, but I also think there's the what. A lot of the research results are very difficult to understand. We talk about powering and this and that. So what do you think about the content of the communication as well? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make actually. It's very important. So the content, just, you've got the results, just break it down to lay language into simple numbers. Don't talk about p-values and, the relative risk reductions, and they won't understand that. Just translate into simple numbers. So if you're talking about risk, for example, interpreting risk, like I just say, okay, out of 10 people, one of them will get this condition. So if I take 10 people from the streets of, say, Leicester, I live in Leicester, 10 black people on the streets of Leicester, and one of them is going to get a heart attack in 10 years, that person could be you. And that makes more sense to them. And so this is the way I break it down and just show them that one person could be you, and it makes more sense to them.
Great, thank you, Sam. So, Stephen, I guess I'm asking you twofold, but also from the perspective of Diabetes UK, obviously a massive funder of research in the UK. What's your opinion about results dissemination and increasing diversity in the trials?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's key. It's a key part of the research, and I think that one frustration that I've had is that a lot of people in the research community see publication as the final step. And I think that leaves a lot of good research not having the impact that it could have. The real people you want to impact are either health services, because they can deliver the research based on your recommendations, and the actual people, because those are the people who will be benefiting from whatever research you've put out. So, as a putting my funders hat on, as Diabetes UK, we try and make sure that all of our research findings have a lay summary, which we put online. Now, obviously, again, that's not our job done. Once it's online, we can sort of wash our hands of it and say we've done our jobs. As was mentioned, going out into communities and giving them access to that information where they are. And I really like the idea of barbershops, because I've had many a wasted conversation at barbershops, and it would have been much nicer to see some sort of talk about what was going on in research and some actual things that might make a difference to people's lives. So I think that's a really great idea, and I think that that's definitely something that we could do better, is to disseminate the findings in different ways, not just online, and that's something that I think we should look into.
Even more from the participant perspective, you gave an excellent summary earlier when we were talking about funding. Do you have anything else to add with regard to dissemination?
Yeah, so I think that it's very good that a lot of funders are aiming to increase the diversity of people involved in research that they fund. But in order to get those people who are motivated to be part of those studies, they need to understand, what's the point in being part of these research projects? No one's ever told me about anything that's happened. No one's ever told me the real world implications, and how many lives could be saved and how it could help people like me. So I think that if funders want to increase representation and make sure that black people are involved in research, it's a big part of what they do, is disseminating the findings that they already have. So that's something that we're trying to do. And I'm not sure if I've mentioned this, we've sort of set up, as part of the diabetes research steering groups, an EDI, which is Equality, Diversity and Inclusion subgroup. And we're trying to look at how we can involve different communities in our research. And one of those things is, well, how do we let them know that research can make a difference, and how do we disseminate the findings from that research? So that's a big part of what we're aiming to do with that group.